Expolog, edição especial virtual. Realização e promoção. Patrocínio. Apoio. Apoio institucional. Parceria. Parceiros de mídia. Assessoria de imprensa. A logística e a transformação digital integrando negócios.
Prepare-se para redescobrir o Ceará. Aqui, sol e vento já não são apenas atrativos turísticos, são fonte de energia. E o mar não é só praia, é economia e porta para o mundo. Vendo tudo por um novo ângulo, estamos mudando o perfil do estado. O Ceará é veloz. Temos pressa para o futuro. Já somos o estado líder em investimentos públicos do país e queremos mais. Aumento da geração de emprego, da massa salarial e o crescimento da participação do Ceará no PIB nacional, que alcançou um recorde histórico. A gente sabe fazer e mostra como. Primeiro passo, atração de investidores. Estamos a pleno vapor na governança digital, simplificando processos, garantindo segurança jurídica e mantendo o equilíbrio fiscal. Isso atrai empresas e gera novos negócios a todo instante, o que nos leva ao segundo passo, a arquitetura de desenvolvimento, dividida em 4 plataformas: capital humano, infraestrutura e logística, tecnológica e de negócios. O terceiro passo é integrar para desenvolver, criar uma rede governamental baseada em simplificação, incentivo e cooperação, em que todos trabalham para o desenvolvimento sustentável. Integrar para fazer do Ceará o melhor ambiente de negócios do Brasil. Uma porta de entrada para resolver tudo num só lugar, facilitando a vida do empreendedor. É o governo se transformando num hub em prol do desenvolvimento. E de hub e desenvolvimento sustentável, o Ceará entende. Nossa localização privilegiada, na esquina do Atlântico, é um ativo econômico estratégico. O hub logístico envolve todo o estado, desde a orla, com o complexo industrial e portuário do Pecém, que se liga à malha da Transnordestina e chega até cada canto do estado pelo Ceará de ponta a ponta. O Hub Tecnológico de Informação e Comunicação nos faz o estado mais conectado em banda larga do Brasil. São conexões do Ceará para o mundo e em todo o Ceará com o cinturão digital. O Hub Aéreo fez crescer exponencialmente a quantidade de passageiros que visitam Fortaleza. Registrou ainda o maior crescimento do país em número de voos. Somos o estado que mais cresceu em volume de atividades turísticas. Estamos abrindo novas frentes de desenvolvimento, como a economia criativa, que está transformando o Ceará num estado da cultura ao aliar criatividade, empreendedorismo e inovação. Bom para a economia, melhor ainda para a inclusão e formação de jovens. Jovens que também integram o ecossistema de ciência, educação e tecnologia, que oferta mais de 50 mil vagas no ensino superior, dezenas de cursos nas escolas profissionalizantes e forma verdadeiros empreendedores através das escolas de negócios. Inovação em saúde, energias renováveis, rede de segurança hídrica. Estas são algumas das áreas que compõem os clusters de aceleração do desenvolvimento econômico, que já estão em funcionamento e redefinindo os rumos do nosso crescimento. Assim como os distritos econômicos, distribuindo a produtividade do estado entre cada vez mais municípios, cada vez mais pessoas. Isso é desenvolvimento sustentável. É nesse ritmo que estamos acelerando. O estado do Ceará está pronto para enfrentar os desafios do século XXI, competitivo, sustentável e inovador. A nova marca do Ceará no Brasil e no mundo. Porque o Ceará é o estado que não para, o estado que faz.
Prevenção à Covid-19, um gesto de cuidado, empatia e cidadania. Em casa, na rua ou no trabalho, continue seguindo os protocolos de segurança sanitária e faça sua parte pelo bem-estar de todos. Use corretamente sua máscara, evite tocar olhos, boca e nariz, respeite o distanciamento social, higienize sempre suas mãos com água e sabão ou álcool em gel 70%. Ao tossir ou espirrar, cubra a boca e o nariz com um lenço de papel ou com a parte interna do cotovelo. Se tiver febre, tosse seca, sintomas de gripe ou perda de olfato e paladar, busque orientação médica e fique em casa. Limpe bem todos os ambientes e desinfete objetos e superfícies tocados com frequência. Ao se proteger, você evita a propagação do coronavírus e ajuda a preservar a saúde dos outros. Vamos juntos?
O meu Ceará tem a luz, tem a força e energia, tem a garra, criatividade e o suor do trabalho noite e dia. É assim meu Ceará, que até dá orgulho de falar. Avançando juntos, o estado só cresce, o trabalho não pode parar. Avança, Ceará! A gente tá junto, movendo a economia pra frente. A gente tá junto, inovando pra ser diferente. A gente tá junto, mais veloz e mais experiente, porque o meu Ceará avança com a gente. A gente tá junto, fazendo um futuro presente. A gente tá junto. A gente tá junto, mais incluso e mais eficiente, porque o meu Ceará avança com a gente. Governo do Ceará, avançando juntos, o trabalho não para.
A cada onda, a cada maré, os nossos mares transportam sonhos. O sonho de chegar a novos mercados. O sonho das novas oportunidades profissionais. O sonho de desembarcar no futuro. E ele chegou. Estamos na esquina do Atlântico, próximo das grandes transformações e das novas fontes de riqueza. Esse é o Ceará. De portas abertas para o mundo, em busca do desenvolvimento sustentável. Estamos conectados com a África, Europa, América e Ásia. Os cabos submarinos do hub tecnológico estão trazendo informação para todo o Ceará. Os aviões do hub aéreo estão desembarcando novas oportunidades. É assim que vivemos um tempo sem fronteiras, um tempo de novas ideias e conexões. Nosso povo hospitaleiro recebe os estrangeiros com tolerância e felicidade. Hoje, estamos ao lado do maior porto da Europa, o de Roterdã. Graças a essa conexão, vamos ter muito mais capacidade e eficiência para competir no mercado internacional. E vai ser assim, ao lado de um gigante que vamos atrair novas indústrias, novos empregos e novos negócios. O Ceará não para de inovar. Somos a porta de entrada e saída do Brasil, que se move orgulhosamente entre os oceanos, numa aliança que inaugura uma nova história. Porto do Pecém e Porto de Roterdã, parceiros em novas conquistas.
Há mais de 7 décadas, a Federação das Indústrias do Estado do Ceará utiliza o tempo a seu favor, preservando a história, aprendendo todos os dias com o novo. A FIEC representa os interesses da indústria do Ceará. Atende às demandas de saúde e qualidade de vida, formação e qualificação profissional do setor. Atua também com serviços técnicos e tecnológicos, incentivando a inovação e a educação executiva. Toda essa estrutura está presente fisicamente nas cidades de Limoeiro do Norte, Sobral, Juazeiro do Norte, Maracanaú e Fortaleza. E esse zelo com a indústria cearense vem colhendo bons frutos. O SESI vive grande crescimento nos atendimentos, na capacitação de jovens e adultos, nas matrículas nas escolas SESI e Senai. Para dar sustentação a esse trabalho, foram contratados novos profissionais e realizados grandes investimentos em tecnologia, obras civis e equipamentos. O Senai possui 187 diferentes laboratórios a serviço da população. O IEL foi todo reformulado, se transformando em um verdadeiro hub de empreendedorismo e inovação. Ampliou seu time, lhe dando capacidade para atender ainda mais empresas nos últimos 12 meses. O SIM está com uma estrutura muito mais robusta. Tudo pensado para que o industrial da capital e do interior possa ter o suporte operacional e estratégico para ingressar no COMEX. O Observatório da Indústria ganhou notoriedade pela vasta quantidade de dados que, quando cruzados, dão clareza de onde o industrial pode investir, reduzir custos e prever sua produção e expansão. Com trabalho, dedicação e conhecimento, o Sistema FIEC seguirá buscando soluções para os desafios do dia a dia, permitindo que a indústria cearense entre em um novo ciclo de melhoria da produtividade para ampliar a geração de negócios e a estabilidade econômica. FIEC.
A logística e a transformação digital integrando negócios.
Welcome to Expolog 2020. With a live broadcast to our virtual conference center, we'd like to greet all our audience in Ceará, Brazil, and abroad, and everyone who's here in this auditorium in the convention center in Fortaleza, Ceará, Brazil. Now with our 15 years of Expolog and the official opening ceremony. And so Expolog is one of the most important logistics events in the country. It's traditional and consolidated in our events. Besides being something exclusive in logistics in the north and northeast of Brazil, Expolog is completing 15 years and promotes this edition 100% virtual through an innovative platform. So thank you very much for believing in our very important project. And so I'm going to call my friend and the president of the Brazil-Portugal Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to hear, how has logistics helped us? Good morning, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here participating with such important panelists and speakers. I'm only going to mention some here, of course, but Heitor from FIEC, Heitor Studart. And so our friend Maya Jr., responsible for us to be in the position we are, Rodrigo Bourbon, Eduardo Neves, and also a friend who took on the presidency of the Chambers of Commerce in Brazil. So I'd like to greet. So it's really great to be here in this 15th edition of Expolog. An event totally adapted to this new reality through a virtual platform. So I'd like to greet Eniji for her strength, for sharing with us this opportunity to discuss all of our problems related to logistics and development. Logistics is a problem that we've been trying to solve, forever. Transporting food, this generates logistics since the dawn of humanity. And today, we've been going through a huge modification in logistics processes with digital tools and the virtual world. That we live in. And so Expolog, as being one of the main forums of debate for logistics in our country, is going to address very well this issue of digital transformation, logistics solutions of our daily problems. And so I'd like to reiterate here how happy I am, how happy we are at the Brazil-Portugal Chamber of Commerce to be participating once again in this event. We are partners now for a long time, and I had the idea today of being next to Iniji, greeting each and every one of you, but the virus visited me. I'm here in quarantine, and that's why I am not next to Iniji. Okay, so I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful event. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, thank you for being together with us. We all know that a Chamber of Commerce is an instrument. It's a tool of foreign trade. We promote bilateral business with Portugal and also with the rest of the world. And so, once again, thank you so much for being with us, and I wish all of you an excellent event. Expolog with everything that you may need. Thank you, Colonel. I wish you all the best. And I have so many other officials here with me. I'd like to hear from our host, Clovis Bezerra, and who's here helping us in this hybrid event. Clovis, what logistics can do for us? What's your take-home message for Expolog's 15 years now? Welcome. Thank you so much. Now we're virtual, we're adapting, and Vetranslog, Sechikasi, we're here at Expolog. We've been here for some time, and we really believe in this event so much so that Sechikasi were being disseminated to all of Brazil and other places. This is very important. So cargo transportation and logistics today is very, very well represented because we're always participating in Expolog. Thank you so much. Yes, and now, Clovis, the Port Authority with Mayara Chaves at the port terminal, an icon of tourism. So Mayara, you're a woman, a leader. I'd like to hear from you. What does this represent to you today? We hear so much about strengthening of women and the role of leadership. Brazilian women that are listening to us now. So welcome, President Mayara. Iniji, good morning. Sorry that I couldn't be there face to face, but I'd like to thank for the invitation to be able to participate. Even if online, we have one of our directors for this very important milestone. So I've been participating for many years now. And so I am president here at Companhia Docas Ceará, the Port Authority, and for 6 months, I also took on the Association of Brazilian Entities for Ports and Waterways. And so participation of women in infrastructure brings us another vision, a different vision, let's say more a delicate vision of the situation, perhaps greater sensibility of port workers. As women, we have some skills. We usually say we do 2 or 3 things at the same time, where we do a lot of multitasking. And so we need to use this gift that God has given us as women in order to do the best that we can in our activities. And of course, a lot is required from us, you know, for our performance in the sector. And even more so because we have our activities at home, we have children, family, other activities as well. So I think women are here to stay. We have a huge skill in terms of organization and taking care of things, you know, the only way that women can. And so I think women will grow. I receive many messages via LinkedIn that, you know, messages of inspiration, but these messages just reinforce for me to continue doing my activities, facing the challenges, which is to be a woman in such a sector an industry dominated by men. And so it's opportunities such as this one from Expolog. Later on, I'll be mediating one of the panels, which made me very happy. Thank you so much, Anichi, for the invitation. And so a great panel. It's worth for us to watch. The first panel with Secretary Diogo Piloni and so many other important people involved in ports. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Congratulations for the event, Inichi. Have an excellent Expolog. Thank you so much, President. And so panel 1 with Diogo Piloni, mediated by President Mayada. Let's watch, let's tune in. Now, Mayada, let's go to Rio de Janeiro with Eduardo Rebouzi. Eduardo is there to share this message that's so important for Brazilian logistics, partner of Sachikasi, Clóvis Bezerra. Welcome, Eduardo. What would you like to tell us in this very challenging year for Brazilian logistics, for the entire business community that's watching us? Yeah, good morning, everyone. Bom dia. Thank you for the invitation. It's too bad that we cannot be there in Fortaleza, in Ceará, participating. Because of the pandemic, we have to adapt to this new reality. You know, we have so many important people here in transportation, and a special greeting goes out to Clóvis Bezerra, Marcelo Maranhão, and others, and all those that are participating in this opening ceremony. I'd like to greet, congratulating Mayara Chaves, our representative of women. It's great to have women demonstrating their capacity. If we talk about integration, women really know how to integrate people. And on your behalf, I greet everyone else here in the opening ceremony, and I greet those that are watching us online, virtually. I have the honor of being representing Francisco Pelúcio, NTC. I'm the VP of the institution. and I preside the cargo section for transportation, comprised by the 12 federations in Brazil and 5 associations at this moment. I also congratulate our president, Vander Costa. And so we're going to have today until the 10th really important talks. I looked over the program. It's great to see such a rich debate as we're going to have here. Wonderful speakers. Extremely important for us to discuss the current scenario of logistics and transportation in Brazil and the future, what we can expect in the future. A lot of changes happening at a very quick pace. Integration is extremely important. It's the key word, really. And as a rep in road cargo transportation, who really integrates these modes of transportation, the logistic supply chain, is road cargo transportation. You know, from the first mile to the last mile, taking to consumers or industry or trade. So ships are in water, rail, we know, but the only one that's on the ground is road transportation. And so we have this responsibility, and we represent all modes of transportation. We defend the growth of the economy through integration of modes of transportation, each one with their own specialty. But we're not going to have growth in the economy if we do not have the natural changes of our transportation matrix. And so that's extremely important. And so I want to say that we are very satisfied to be participating here today. I hope that you can develop all of these themes and topics. We have Wiperookt and other applications, things that are coming this next year. It's a strategic activity and known as essential, publicly acknowledged, especially during the pandemic. We see the importance in logistics, supplying the entire supply chain and Brazilian families. It's a great honor to be here, and I'm always here available to answer questions any questions you may have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eduardo. Yes, thank you for being here. Now, the Chamber of Commerce, Brazil, Portugal, Armando Abreu recently took on this role. He's leading a panel about international business. So Armando, you know Expolog. And so I want to hear your message. What can you tell us in this very challenging year? And an invitation to your panel, a panel that you put together. So welcome, Armando. Good morning, Iniji. Good morning, everyone. First of all, congratulations, Iniji, to you and Prática and your entire team, wonderful team, who was able to organize this event in such a challenging year, such a challenging scenario, organizing this virtual meeting, the virtual Expolog. Really, I'm now part of the Chamber of Commerce here in Ceará. I'm the founder, actually, together with Romero and Romulo. I've always been connected to these activities. Today, Romero is the president, who's already spoken, but today I'm here as a president of the Brazil-Portugal Chambers of Commerce in all of Brazil. So really, as Romero said, we've been part since the beginning of Expolog as an organizer. And we've taken on the federation, and our responsibility is great now. And so it's a great honor to do this, not only for the Chamber of Commerce, but for all of the people of Ceará, really. So it's a great responsibility to lead this. We have 18 chambers of commerce, and we all know about the importance of these chambers of commerce, especially international level of companies, level of investments, and trade. As we know, none of this exists without good logistics. And in this very difficult year, nobody knows exactly what logistics will be like post-pandemic world. But one thing is for sure, whatever is coming, without logistics, without transportation, interconnection, this economy will not grow. And so anyway, the idea is that we can integrate more and more the work of the chambers of commerce throughout Brazil. We also have an Expolog virtual booth, and with this work between the chambers of commerce and all of the institutions linked to logistics at a Brazilian level, in the Northeast and Ceará, Brazil, perhaps we can create the conditions, the necessary conditions for the economy to continue growing and the performance that we always desired. There's no doubt in my mind that this new virtual Expolog will be a total success. The simple fact that it's happening the way that it is, it's a huge victory. And so congratulations to the organizers, to all of the participants. And once again, to say, Enigi and Prática Eventos, you can always count on us, okay? So this great partnership. Excellent event to all of us. Great partner, thank you so much. And, you know, visit our virtual booth. And, you know, if you're in our platform, our booths are wonderful. The virtual booths are great. And now a special message. Karina Frota, Marta Campelo, Celso Tomás, Adriano Muniz, Marcelo Maranhão, Dr. Cláudio from CEPI. So all of you who are here, and now the women who have come here, Rebeca Oliveira, from Porto do Pecém, from CIPI, this very important complex, so important for the development of Ceará, Brazil, and the world. And so how logistics can help. You've been a partner since the beginning of Expolog. I'd like to hear the message from Porto do Pecém. It's 15 years now of Expolog. Welcome, Rebecca. Yeah, Enigi, it's a very important moment, a very different moment that we're going through. And of course, we can do this virtually. Congratulations to Expolog. For 11 years now, I've been doing this, and during the pandemic, logistics is extremely important. It's recognized in this whole process. You see, Porto do Pecém actively participated with the arrival of equipment for the state of Ceará. The port never stops. We're an essential service, and so always working for development. And even with the pandemic, we have very positive numbers, and we're working with the entire population towards the development of the state. Complexo do Pecém 18 years now of life. We have ZPE, the only export processing zone in activity in Brazil. Next year, we're going to inaugurate ZPE2, the opportunity for the clusters to export. I even invite everyone to check out ZPE2 by logging on to our website. And as it's been said, we're going to always think about the importance of logistics and that we can go further with logistics. So congratulations once again. Iniji, thank you. Rebecca. And now I want to hear from small-scale businesses. Without them, you don't have a strong supply chain without small-scale businesses. A partner we've had in the last 15 years, economic development in the country, which is Sebrae. And I'd like to hear the importance of logistics for the strengthening of the supply chain for small-scale businesses. Cartacho, welcome. It's great to receive you here in our virtual event. All the best. What's your message for us here at Expolog? Good morning, bom dia to everyone. I'm going to just say the following. The opening panel here, I wrote down the names, okay? I don't want to leave anybody out, but first of all, Iniji, congratulations for the 15 years of Expolog. It's not easy to maintain an event of this magnitude during 15 years now. And also a special greeting to Romero, the president of the Brazil-Portugal Chamber of Commerce. Also, Armando Abreu, who today presides the Federation of the Chambers of Commerce, Brazil-Portugal. Two wonderful partners. Maia Júnior, Secretary Maia Júnior, Eduardo Neves, Secretariat of Economic Development, and Eduardo, who spearheads ADESE, and also Rodrigo from Banco do Nordeste, part of the supervisory board. With our technical directors who help to manage Sebrae. Ricardo Parente as well. We have very important partnership with small-scale businesses in PECEM, CSP, and also a special greeting to Rebecca Oliveira, today's commanding PECEM, and Mayara Chaves from the Port Authority. So to talk about small businesses or small enterprises, you know, when we talk about small enterprises, we talk about 90% or more than 90% of companies that we have in Brazil, formal companies. 100% of companies, more than 90 are micro or small scale companies. And so when we talk about logistics for small companies, that's what we're discussing. I mean, how do we think, how do we help, how can we contribute with more than 90% of companies in Brazil? Romero started talking or saying that logistics has always existed. And when I read the name of Mayara here on my monitor, when I saw her name, Mayara with a Y, and I remember that Y is part of logistics. You know, where Romero started to speak, Y is the symbol of trade. It's where you have trade. And so that's the point, the meeting point of the letter Y, apparently. So this idea of logistics is something that we can say is really important. And the different modalities of exchange. Now, we're in this event that's logistics and digital transformation, and we're having this virtual chat together with the face-to-face event at the convention center. I just want to say that what we're doing here is something that's inevitable, but the pandemic accelerated this need. I mean, if we were going towards digital transformation, we were already going that way. Having this type of event, this new way, it was something inevitable. It was something that was coming. Sebrae was already transforming a digital transformation plan. And then with the pandemic in March, we had to go 100% digital. And small enterprises, small businesses are going exactly through this transformation process. And so this is something extremely important, be it a bar, a restaurant, what have you. If there is exchange, if there's suppliers, if there are clients, there is this issue of logistics. And I'm going to finish here by just sharing an example that I consider very interesting in the Jaguaribe Valley, where we try to organize small enterprises in business networks. The Univale network in the Jaguaribe Valley. And so we were able to bring together these networks with 28 supermarkets. There are 28 supermarkets, and these supermarkets have advanced so much that they've built a distribution center, which is a very important element in logistics. So they're small enterprises, they're small supermarkets, but in Limoeiro do Norte, they have a distribution center for them to do their purchases and to supply their own stores, their own businesses. And so this is an example of the importance when it's planned, when it's seen as something that interferes in business management to optimize productivity. Anyway, I'm going to stop here by talking about business. Eduardo Neves has taught me that no parking, no business. No parking, no business. Armando Abreu told me once that no Wi-Fi, no business. And without logistics, no business. So all the best, everyone. I wish you all success in the world in Expolog 2020. Yeah, thank you so much. And from the Federation of Industry, we'd like to hear from our partner, member of the committee, Heitor Studach, representing the President Ricardo Cavalcanti. We'd like to hear from Heitor. What are the main challenges for logistics that positively influence Brazilian industry? Hello, Heitor. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for your partnership. Yeah, the pleasure is mine. On behalf of our president, Ricardo Cavalcanti, from the Federation of Industry in Ceará, FIEC, I'd like to greet all of the participants of this wonderful event. We'd like to congratulate Expolog for this 15th edition. This event included in our national calendar because of the relevance, the high technical level of debates and presentations during the entire event, generating business opportunities. It's important at this moment that we're going through a possible recovery with interesting levels and adjustments that need to be made so that we can really continue growing. The growth of the economy definitely has to do with logistics infrastructure. Significant milestones are being achieved in the country, such as sanitation, oil and gas, rail transportation, concessions, water resources, amongst others. And so this whole reformulation will be followed by regulation. These facts definitely will drive the economy and will be a determining factor for us to get our economy back on track. And so we're going to debate all of these issues during the next few days for sure. This afternoon, we will have a panel. And so we'd like to congratulate all of you who have helped to organize and make Expolog happen. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Heitor Stodaci, a great partner. And now Brasília. Mozart Rodrigues, who's a great partner here of our seminar. And so I want to hear from our member of parliament, our congressman, what are the challenges of the government? So thank you so much, okay, for being here. Thank you so much for your partnership. Welcome, Congressman. We want to hear your message. So welcome. Yes, thank you. I'd like to greet the coordinator of Expolog in Ed Câmara, Ellen Newton. I also see the superintendent from Banco do Nordeste, Rodrigo, and many others who are here with us participating. So we need to reflect upon this. You know, the Ceará is a state that is preparing itself to be a great logistics hub in the northeast of Brazil. And of course, the government needs to drive all of this. We need to help the private sector to face this great challenge. We have the international airport in Fortaleza. After it's been privatized, we have the port of Becém, together with Rotterdam. Mucuripe, also very important for the state of Ceará in the northeast, but we still need a lot of incentives from the government. We've been discussing extensively at the federal level, together with federal congressmen and senators, how we can move forward in all of this. It's also important what the House of Representatives has done so that all of these points could be addressed. Agribusiness plays an important role in Brazil, as we know, and needs to be strengthened in the Northeast. The state of Ceará is a poor state, but we need articulation and every year, we've been moving forward more and more. Some industries have gone through difficulties, like, for example, shrimp farming, where Ceará was one of the largest shrimp exporters. And today, 2019 and 2020, has exported very little. And Banco do Nordeste plays a fundamental role in shrimp farming so that you could have better logistics in order to advance. Now, some other sectors or industries have advanced as well, you know, in some regions of the state of Ceará. Dairy, for example, my region is revitalizing. And of course, because of the lack of logistics, it's difficult to grow. And so Expolog plays an important role, you know, through seminars and speakers, not only from Brazil, but from other countries. And so not only for what the government can do, but what the private sector can do as well. And these challenges need to be shared, you know, the private sector and the government, so that we can have targets. And every year we can overcome new challenges so that our logistics infrastructure can advance in the sense. I've been fighting a lot for the improvements of some federal highways. And we were able in 2018, with some senators, we obtained resources to finish that part that goes from 020 all the way to Pecém. And at the end of 2018, we were able to guarantee some of these resources. And as we try to expand some federal highways. But we have other challenges. I myself sent to Denichi in order to improve federal highway all the way to Sobral. And I've been talking to superintendents to do this step by step, you know. I think a challenge is to go all the way to a meeting, and then we increase this step by step. Perhaps one day we can get to the border of the state of Piauí. This will guarantee better logistics, but we have still many challenges ahead of us. So I'd like to say goodbye and to say that I'm fully available here in Brasilia so that we can build better infrastructure for the government and for the private sector to overcome so many of these challenges. Thank you. Thank you so much, Congressman. Thank you. And thank you so much for your partnership with our agribusiness seminar. Thank you very much. No, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Now I'd like to thank the presence of some of our partners, President of OCB, Marcos Oliveira, Pompeu Vasconcelos, and so many other partners that are here, and all our audience. And so I'd like to invite Secretary Maia Jr. to share his message on behalf of the state government. He opened Expolog 2019, so I want to hear his message about the 15 years of Expolog, his vision and the message from the state government in this very challenging year. What are the investments? And then we're going to continue with our partners that are here. Secretary Maia Jr., welcome. Our virtual platform and our agribusiness seminar. Thank you once again for your partnership. Good morning, bom dia, welcome. Yes, good morning, bom dia. I would like to congratulate you once again, not only because of the organization of Expolog, but you're very competent, very dedicated to one of the most important events for our new economy. Of the 11 economic clusters prioritized by the state of Ceará to develop the state, these 11 clusters, we have economies, this period of debates, we're talking about two priorities that are well established of the clusters that can make the economy in Ceará a more robust economy, if you will. And logistics and agribusiness in Ceará are very prosperous economic clusters. And of course, agribusiness and the need to supply the state. Agribusiness is extremely important. We discussed this extensively with the governor because this is one of the segments that reacts well in terms of poverty alleviation. And so I'd also like to greet all of the participants. Especially Federal Congressman Moses, who just spoke. My friend Heitor Studach, representing the Federation of Industry. Colonel Romero and Armando, representing the Chambers of Commerce. Clovis and Eduardo. Mayara and Rebecca, great women here in this panel. It's really important not only to have women, but because of their competence. They're very professional. So my special greeting to Mayara and Rebecca, two leaders of the port sector in Ceará. Also, I would like to greet my dear friend, Cartacho, president of SEBRAE, someone who actively participates to help small enterprises. Strengthen these partnerships. We've been developing programs at the state level that we're going to begin in 2021, focused a lot on our economy. Our economy is not only industry. That's really the great new vision. It's an economic vision. We're working here to not only helping industry, but agribusiness, trade, services, and small and micro enterprises of Ceará. That's why it's very important for Cartacho to be here. You know, in the whole world, 80 and 90% participation of small-scale companies or enterprises. And here it's no different. So, Economic Development Secretary needs to be focused in this way. Now, I would like to also mention the importance of this event, you know, the importance of logistics, something that's very familiar to all of us, despite the negative impacts of the pandemic. You know, just to have an idea, the pandemic in this current moment is the greatest discussion in the entire world. And that's has a lot to do with logistics because of the vaccination campaigns that so many countries are trying to organize. If you see the complexity, if we understand the complexity, which is to distribute this vaccine to all of the continents in the world, all locations throughout the world, we're talking about 7 billion people. And so now that's logistics. And of course, you need to preserve the vaccines so that this vaccine can arrive with the quantity, quality, and in due time to the world's population. And that's really my greatest anxiety, is to be vaccinated. This vaccine in Ceará, to vaccinate all of us in Ceará. Anyway, this is the greatest expectation in the world, I think. And then after this, where science has responded in less than a year, very quickly, in order not only to help people with their health and lives and the impacts, such as poverty, economic impacts, not only in the production sector, but the economy of the states, the different countries. This entire socioeconomic conditions in the world. So logistics is quite evident, of course, together with science. Science has done its part, and now it's for logistics to shine. And so some of the points that Eniji told me she would like to hear about. Now, regarding the economy, I'm very excited, very optimistic with the status that Ceará has. First, the decision of the governor to restructure not only all of the plans, all of its planning that's configured in the long term, Ceará 2050, but in the midterm, Ceará Veloz. And actually, everything was realigned, thinking now about the pandemic. Now we're going to begin an entire process so that together with states and others, FIEC launched this work. The strategic routes, and the work that we've done. And we had major concessions in 11 economic clusters, and we're debating one of them here today. I'm very happy because of these 11, Ceará already has an event that not only a business or promotion, Federation of Industry. We had Pro Energia. And so this is our future. And so I've been talking to the governor about the details. Until our Congress decides what this new format will be like in our country. And a future proposal as a consequence of these decisions that are underway regarding support that we're going to receive for further development. Something that's going to change is a concept, you know. Development policy always talked about industry, would leave out usually trade and services that have grown extensively, not only in Ceará, but so many others. And of course, these projects will be very important for Ceará, because Ceará is going through a very important moment in terms of its stability, trust, reliability, its public policies, governance, transparency, and so many other things. Also, major investments with CP and ZPE. So the prognosis is excellent. The outlook is excellent. So not only physically speaking, but the new reality with the pandemic, innovation, technology, IT, the digital transformation. And we have great outlook, great recommendations so that we could think about a new economy in terms of renewables and transform Ceará into the greatest Brazilian producer, perhaps even world producer in green hydrogen. We have some plans together with FIEC. We've already attracted some companies, and the governor in January will announce a plan in this sense. And the main element, green hydrogen, and the transportation of this gas, of green hydrogen, to consuming countries and the state of Ceará. So this is amazing for our logistics and our economy. And the main element will be transportation, will be logistics. The Japanese, for example, already have a ship that does this kind of transportation between the origin and the destination. And so that's one thing that's quite relevant. Now, another relevant point that we're working with is to make Ceará, besides a tech hub, besides an air and port hub, besides a logistics hub that we're putting together, we want to transform Ceará into a foreign trade hub. We need to get into this and focus on foreign trade, which will increase our productivity and our competitiveness. And so, my dear friends, today it's just an opening ceremony. It's not a talk. So I mentioned all of this so that you can, think about it. We can think about all of these points that I talked about, because definitely Ceará is ready to grow. Ceará is ready to develop, and logistics in this context and the concept of development will be very important. We want to make Ceará what Japan has done with logistics, to create a wealth, and that will happen. What Japan created with logistics. There are examples throughout the world, quite representative. You know, if Ceará wants to transform, you just have to learn from Japan what Korea and China are also doing. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Secretary Maia Júnior. Wonderful message for Ceará, Brazil, and abroad. We also have an international platform with interpretation into English. Thank you very much, Secretary Maia Júnior. Very important points that you shared with us. Thank you, Secretary Maia Júnior. And now, Banco do Nordeste, where Rodrigo Bourbon, the superintendent, is there, a partner of Expolog in these last few years. We want to hear quickly from him. We have Mauricio Benvenuti, our speaker. But let's hear from Rodrigo, your message for the logistics chain here at Expolog. Good morning, bom dia, Rodrigo. Good morning, bom dia. Hello, everybody. My greetings and congratulations. This wonderful event, a hybrid event, really innovating. So, Cláudia Bezerra, our host, Armando, a great partner, my friend Maia Júnior, and Cartacho, president of Sebrae. So I'd like to greet everyone. Banco do Nordeste is part of this important context in the economy. With our products and services, we help the state of Ceará to develop in a consistent and solid way, and also with responsibility. I like talking about numbers, and so the bank is very important in this sense. In the state of Ceará, we had 9 billion in operations. And we understand that the business community, has had to strengthen itself because of the difficulties. And we've suspended some payments. Also, new credit, subsidized credit. And so the bank has financed in the state 7 billion new resources, even with the pandemic. FNE and Crédito Amigo, a micro-lending program of the bank. And so logistics has to do with all of this. When we talk about these numbers and what we're doing, we need to consider always the importance of logistics. It's overarching, has to do with so many supply chains. And for a long time, logistics is not only seen as stock or supply, but a very important sector, which is transportation. And so logistics has become something strategic, really, for any executive or business owner. You know, it interferes in prices, interferes in delivery, so many decisions, etc. We have our innovation hub. So, talking to our institutional partners, with governments, economic teams, we're going to continue with our mission of being a development bank in the northeast of Brazil. focused on small and medium-sized enterprises. So I hope that you can all have an excellent Expolog. We will have our virtual booth here. And, you know, to create business. It's very important. And Banco do Nordeste will be here with the team, the whole team available. Thank you so much. I wish you all the success in the world. All the best. Thank you. And Carlos Alberto from TECE, who's here with us. Miguel Andrade from CDC, who's here with us as well. And now, without the private sector, we don't have events. There's no business. And we chose one sponsor who's been with us for 15 years to speak on behalf of all private sponsors. So my friend Jorginho Albuquerque, representing Termaco, from Termaco TECE, saying how Expolog has influenced the logistics scenario in the last 15 years. Termaco has been with us since the beginning. Jorginho, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here with us. Your message for Será Brazil and abroad, because we have an international platform from Virtuali with conference interpretation into English. Good afternoon. Thank you, Iniji. In these 15 years of event at Expolog, it's really been important. And we've been able to unite the logistics sector in terms of good practices as we seek to improve the supply chain. I would like to call your attention to the different seminars that have already taken place. Very high quality. The opportunity to have great discussions and to exchange experience between small, medium, and large companies. It's an opportunity, really, for the state of Ceará and for companies that participate in Expolog to support this very important event. This contributes towards our economy and other sectors. Production and services, logistics will always be important for all companies. And finally, congratulations to the organizers, especially Iniji and your competent team. We hope that you can all have an excellent event, and we will be together for at least another 15 years. Congratulations and have a great event. Yes, a round of applause. Virtual and here face-to-face event. So thank you very much for those kind words in our opening ceremony. Now, Ceará is a pioneer in the creation of an organization called sectorial chambers. They are all at ADESE, the development agency for the state of Ceará, led by the executive Eduardo Neves. These chambers of commerce try to strengthen all of these sectors of the economy. Eduardo plays an important role in the unity of these sectors. And so Eduardo, you're a great partner, Expolog. How do you see ADESE that involves this wonderful work? Welcome. Welcome, Iniji. Congratulations for this 15 years of Expolog. With so much innovation. And today, it's one of the main trade shows we have in Ceará. And of course, I can't greet everybody here on the panel. So Colonel Romero, my dear friend Heitor, Secretary Maia Jr., representing us so well, Armando Abreu, Eduardo Rebouços, my friend Cartacho from Sebrae, Rodrigo Bourbon from Banco do Nordeste, a great partner, Ricardo Parente from CSP, Jorginho Albuquerque, representing Termaco and others, Carlos Alberto, Clóvis Bezerra, Rebecca from Porto do Pecém, Mayara Chaves from Mucuripe. So I think that's basically everybody. But anyway, ADESE, there are different ways of contributing specifically with logistics in Ceará through the operational arm of the Secretariat of Economic Development. Now, one of the main ways definitely are the sectorial chambers, and logistics is overarching. And just to have an idea, we had some great work this year. There are two major working groups that were created for road transportation, air transportation, and ports. So it's interesting as we divide the groups and then they interact, and there's the great demand for logistics in Ceará. The sectorial chambers have this power not only of interaction, but an environment, a discussion environment that comes from the state level, but also the industry itself. Anyway, and just to mention an example, if you will, talking about the pandemic, just to mention an example of something that's so important. We created the Green Line, Linha Verde, the opening of our highways so that truck drivers could, fill up, they could sleep, so that logistics could work during the pandemic. And so I know we have so many talks and panels, so take advantage of the event. I hope that you'll have an excellent event. And this is a moment for us to discuss, new ideas so that we can move forward. And ADESE, in this moment at the end of the year, in a post-pandemic world, Expolog, we can think of the breakthroughs that we will have in our homework for 2021. So I wish you all an excellent event. Congratulations to everyone and have a great day. Thank you. Congratulations, President Eduardo. And I want to congratulate all those that were elected yesterday, the presidents elected yesterday. So we'd like to thank Daniel Rios, Carvalho. Without the committee, there's no Expolog. Thank you so much. And now, a very important moment. I'd invite everybody to watch the opening ceremony digital transformation, integrating business and people. We found Mauricio Benvenuti, so let's check it out. Welcome. Where's Mauricio? I also invite anybody who wants to listen to Mauricio. I don't know if we can continue here. But anyway, Mauricio is in São Paulo. Mauricio, I stole a little bit of your thunder. I said that you would start at 10:15. So Mauricio, pass you the floor. Remember, we have those 3 questions. Okay. So don't forget about the question. Everything's okay, Mauricio? Yeah, thank you so much. It's an honor. It's so important to participate in this event that contributes to the regional economy. Our country impacts families and clients, so it's really a great honor to be able to share a little bit of what I know. All right, Mauricio, go ahead. You can take it. Yeah, so it's great to be here. It's really great to be here. My name is Mauricio Benvenuti. I've been living in Silicon Valley, and we've been dealing with a lot of innovation and technology. I'm a partner at Stasi, an education startup. The world is so dynamic that we can't think in the future. It's education for now. And that's what we do. And so I'm always very well accepted in Ceará. I've been there many times. I have great friends in the state of Ceará, Honório Pinheiro. My company, Stasi, offers many programs for business executives. So I met Mr. Honório in 2018 in the launch of my 2nd book at CDL. And Mr. Honório was really great promoting the book. It was really incredible. It was amazing. Fabiana Távora, another great friend. And one of the first participants and so I always feel very well accepted, very well received. So it's great to be here. So I'm going to go direct to the point. I prepared a presentation. The vision of the world and how this connects with companies and corporations here in Brazil. Here's my contact information. Okay, you can check me out on Instagram or LinkedIn. And so I was raised in a city of 60,000 inhabitants called Vacaria. That's where I learned the values and principles I have. My parents are teachers, already retired, but I grew in an environment that has everything to do with education. My father, all of them were great. But anyway, education is in my DNA. I'm not a professor or a teacher, but I work with education. And so perhaps I have taken on this legacy. I was a partner at XP Investimentos, and I worked on the construction of the partner institutions. And I started to build and expand XP in Porto Alegre. And that's why I went to Fortaleza. And that's why I've been to Fortaleza so much. After 8 years at XP Investimentos, we transformed into a brokerage firm. And it was a great story to be able to participate in the construction of a company that has become XP. But after 8 years, I decided to leave XP. I turned that page and I went to Silicon Valley. Why did I go to Silicon Valley? Well, I wanted to reposition myself in the market and to understand what was happening. I was thinking, well, I have to go where it's hot. And so, you know, working with Salesforce, Airbnb, Uber, Apple, Facebook, Tesla, Netflix, HP, Intel, and so many others, we seem to have lost, I seem to have lost the speaker for some reason. Tesla. But anyway, more and more companies created recently in the digital world. And so, yeah, we seem to have some audio problems or audio difficulties here in the virtual booth for some reason. And so we're just going to change rooms here. Okay. Just a second, please, as we change rooms for the keynote. Just apologize for this slight gap here in the interpretation. But soon we will be back on air. Just ask for your patience as we will try So just waiting for the keynote from Mauricio Benvenuti. Just a second, please. Se alguém aí estiver me ouvindo, eu estou tentando entrar na sala aqui da Palestra Magna, Maurício Benvenuti. Estou só esperando o anfitrião deixar entrar. Se alguém estiver me ouvindo aí, por favor. Se alguém estiver me ouvindo, aí, por favor, avisem que eu estou tentando entrar na sala Palestra Magna Maurício Benvenuti. Innovation cycles that are short, the cycle of technology that we finished some years ago in the 80s with personal computers, and now we're getting into a new cycle of data-driven companies. This new cycle will last 15, 20 years, and then a new cycle will come. Quantum computing, that's going to increase the speed of everything we do today. So this need, that's why to develop digital consciousness is important, because the cycles are shorter and shorter, and we need to be prepared for what's coming. So that life cycle of the classic companies from the last century, from the 20th century, a company would start to grow, would reach its peak, and then decline. All of this would take around 60 years on average. This is the time of the companies of the last century. And today, the cycle is shorter and shorter. To maintain competitive today for a long time, it's very difficult. And new technologies, and so the life cycle and furthermore, people accept innovation quicker. People have open minds to what's new. And so when electricity was invented, it took 46 years for half of the American population to adopt electricity. 46 years, almost half a century, so that 1/4 of Americans could start using electric power. After the invention of the telephone, it took 35 years, so that 1/4 of the population adopted it. So radio, after the radio, it took 31 years for 1/4 of the American population to use the radio. TV, 26, computers, 16, cell phones, 13, internet, 7. In other words, more and more people are accepting innovation quicker. People today are changing their concepts of security. They're having more access to what's new, and they have open minds to what's new, to test something new. You know, today, we like testing new things usually. So what do we have in relationship to now? We have eminent need for professionals, companies to develop technological consciousness. This is important, digital consciousness in the post-pandemic world. We see how important it is to be present in this world. Second, it's more and more difficult to remain competitive because the innovation cycles are shorter and shorter. So this requires from companies transformation processes that are deeper and more frequent. And people today accept innovation quicker because of greater access and the fact that people have different concepts of security. All right, Mauricio, I understand now. Okay. And what about digitalization in this whole story? Well, this work, digitalization, we heard this a lot in the last few months. One of the consequences of the pandemic, actually it was already happening before the pandemic, this process of transforming face-to-face processes, physical processes into digital processes. Companies that were born in the digital world. I mentioned some examples here. Now, what happened is that the pandemic accelerated this process and a digital presence to make their lives as a business continue. And so it was a forced adoption, if you will, but something, a trend that was already happening that the pandemic just accelerated. But just to give you a concept, a historical concept, you know, what are the fundamentals of digitalization? And so let's go back in time, way back in the dark ages. You know, we think locally and linear. That's our way of thinking. Human beings traditionally think like this because we obtained this back in the Stone Age. Why did I think local? Everything that happened was 2-3 days away. And so I'm concerned with this local. My thought process is linear because nothing would change so much. And so my thought was linear, you know, why change? Because things really don't change. However, today, the world is different because now local thinking with technology, because today if something happens on the other side of the world, in seconds we're impacted. And so you can no longer think only locally. And exponential component, everything accelerates in an unprecedented fashion. And so things sometimes change every 6 months. And so this exponential and global characteristic challenges our local linear thinking. So if I have one salesperson, 1 million has a month. If I have two, we're gonna have 2 million, 3, 4 million. That's how we think usually. We think local, we think linear. Very few think, well, instead of having 2 sales people, and so with a marketplace, for example, things change. And so technology happens exactly in this way. And so this red curve that you see here represents us. We as individuals, human beings, institutions, companies, linear thinkers. And the yellow exponential curve is the tech curve. And this difference between the exponential curve in yellow and the red curve, first, there can be a risk. obviously a risk for us in the red line if we don't see the size of the opportunity that exists and that today is more and more eminent. Somebody could come and take my place, but at the same time represents a huge opportunity, because if I understand, wow, today we're going through a moment in history of transformation. And so just for you to understand digitally, so this is a university that studies the future in Silicon Valley, and they studied different types of behavior of companies and businesses and digital products that were created throughout the years. And they arrived at a pattern. So all companies that are born digital, they go through 6 growth phases, the 6 Ds of exponential growth, where of course the first is D from digital. When you have something physical and you transform this into zeros and ones and bits, you've digitalized. That's the first step. I transferred something physical into something digital. Now, most people see, and it's easy to see, for example, that a text has been digitalized, because we used to have a written text in a typing machine, and now we have Word and PDF files. Music has been digitalized. We used to have records, CDs, and now MP3. It's easy to see that photography also, we used to have Kodak cameras and film, and now a cell phone that takes digital photos. We can see that films have been digitalized. We used to have that huge camera. Now, even with a cell phone, you can create a digital film. So most people see that text, music, video, photos have been digitalized, but very few people realize that financial services are also becoming digital. You know, when you have an algorithm, a system, zeros and ones that analyze people's behavior, it can define a pattern and offer financial products. This algorithm, this system, besides having a human being, we're digitalizing this process. And this is for medicine, this is for accounting, this is for logistics, this is for so many other industries that are seeing their analog process transforming into digital. Now, as you transform something analog into digital, the first characteristic, the first trend is deception. Because when you compare that product that was recently digitalized with the product that already exists in the market, the traditional analog, you know, analog is way better in the beginning, way better because it's existed for years, so long. So when you do this comparison, it's a major deception, because you say, yeah, but hold on. You know, you remember MP3, for example, when digital music came up, you had to, you know, spend the whole night just to download one song, and the song was there, but so many gaps. It was a deception. You know, just to download one song, I'm going to continue buying CDs because I've been deceived. I've been let down. Analog continues being better. So the trend is that the first few experiences of a digital product, when compared to what exists in the traditional world, be a deception. But when this digital product reaches the same quality, equivalent experience to the analog product that already exists in the market, costing the same thing or even less at this moment, we reach the same experience, costing the same thing or less. This is where we have the third D, which is disruption. It's at this moment already CD, all of the songs of a CD, this is the moment where I no longer need to buy a CD because now it's good enough. And I don't have to go to the shop and buy a CD. And so at this moment, things change. This is a disruptive moment. And when you reach the stage of disruption, the other 3 steps come right away. And so when you digitalize something, you dematerialize, you lose the matter. You no longer have a CD. CD doesn't exist anymore. It's digital. You no longer have the camera because it's dematerialized. In the past, you used to have GPS in your car. You no longer have this. Everything's in your cell phone. In other words, it dematerializes. Characteristics of these digital processes is that matter no longer exists. And once you don't have matter, price goes down. So demonetization, it becomes cheaper. You know, GPS, once again, GPS is free. You used to pay $200 to have in your car. Nowadays, it's free. Waze is free of charge. So demonetized so much that it's free. All you need is a cell phone and internet connection. The price of music. And finally, when you make something available for a low price, you democratize, you give more access to those services or products that in the past very few people had access. It wasn't so affordable, but now it's available for millions and billions of people spread throughout the world. And so everything that's born digital follows these 6 Ds. And why do many people don't see the potential of a product or a solution that's digital in the beginning? Because quite often it's in that phase of deception. And of course, in your business, logistics, you look at that digital solution, you compare it with the solution you have today, and you say, but what I do is better. And it is better. Today it is better. But as this technology starts to evolve, at a given moment, this could reach disruption and then just, skyrocket. So digitalization today is extremely necessary, this understanding, and to develop a digital consciousness or digital awareness. It's important for any professional, any industry. If you're a young person, I know we have many young people participating, but also if you're a business member of logistics or ports or agribusiness is going through a lot of digitalization logistics as well. And of course, naturally, this context of the current world and the phenomenon of digitalization happening more frequently, this requires new management models. That's why today, more and more, we question a lot the classic management models. The 5-year business plan no longer exists. The classic American way of doing business in the last century, the 5-year business plan. Nowadays, it's very rare to see a 5-year business plan because 5 years, it's almost future, trying to, it's almost like having a crystal ball, really. And so this requires management tools that are lean. Perhaps you've seen that or heard about agile concepts, but now a context that's not widely commented in Brazil because other management contexts definitely a lot about, which is the 3 horizons. This is Steve Blank. Steve Blank is considered the father of modern entrepreneurship. Berkeley and Stanford professors, a great professor, and he created the concept of the lean startup that became a whole movement throughout the world. Eric Reyes, who wrote the Lean Startup, a classic book. And this concept, gained ground, and many corporations, many companies wanted to adopt this concept, lean startup, the lean startup within their structures that exists now for 100 years. And this started to create a whole new way of managing business that today, just have an idea, for example, Steve Blank today works in the U.S. Defense Department using lean management concepts within Homeland Security, for example. And so why am I telling you the story of Steve Blank? Because in 2017, I was with a group from COSAN, CEOs and leaders from COSAN in Silicon Valley. And we took this group to talk to Steve Blank. Steve Blank is one of our great partners. And talking with COSAN, there was this issue about digitalization and how I can work on my structure. How can I structure a process of innovation development, in terms of what I do? And Steve Blank, he presented exactly the framework concept, the 3 horizons. What is this methodology? McKinsey created this methodology of the 3 horizons as a way to guide major companies, traditional companies, classic companies, how they could structure innovation programs in their business. because we hear a lot about innovation. You have to innovate, you need to do it differently. But when you sit down to put this into practice, where do I start? And so McKinsey created this framework, if you will. This framework, it wasn't widely used in the beginning. Very few companies started to use this, but mainly after 2007, 2008, with the crisis in 2008, many companies felt the need to develop innovation programs, quick innovation programs, and started to look at this framework and thought, wow, this has everything to do with what I need. And so basically any major company or most companies in the world today that work with innovation processes use the three horizons from McKinsey, where basically, what do these three horizons say? Horizon one is today, now, your product now. And you need to create mechanisms, capacities to maintain what you do and to maintain competitive and delivering what you deliver, quality, efficiency. It's your today. According to McKinsey, you need to have around 70% of your efforts spent on now, Horizon 1. Horizon 2 is the evolution of Horizon 1. It's a product that you can deliver in a different way. Perhaps a service that you can, cut down red tape or bureaucracy using technology to make it more accessible or affordable, decreasing cost or quicker delivery. In other words, Horizon 2 is what usually happens in 3 to 5 years. In 3 or 5 years from now, and that will be an evolution, a natural evolution of Horizon 1. According to McKinsey, you concentrate around 20% of your energy in Horizon 2, 70% Horizon 1, 20% Horizon 2. In other words, working different scenarios to evolve the experience of your products and services, what you deliver today. And finally, Horizon 3, which is, 5 or 10 years from now, your company 5 or 10 years from now, Horizon 3 is the moonshot, as it were. It's perhaps your company tomorrow that will have nothing to do with your company today. Horizon 3 is responsible for killing what you do today to be what you're going to be tomorrow. According to McKinsey, you need to have around 10% of your energy spent there in Horizon 3. So, in a certain way, we've been seeing many innovation processes, corporate innovation processes, basically all of them, in one way or another, at a given moment, they use the three horizons in order to structure. How am I going to work with innovation day to day? An example of a company, Embraer, for example, a Brazilian company everybody knows, they use the three horizons. And actually, Horizon 3 in Embraer is a separate company, okay? Because since Horizon 3 is responsible for killing your business today to create new business for tomorrow. So the less contact, so they have Embraer X. It's not even in Brazil, it's in the United States. It's another CEO, another team, and this team is building flying cars so that Embraer will be a relevant player in the world regarding passenger transport. And so the three horizons, I'm sharing this methodology because this methodology is not widely used. The concept is broader outside of Brazil. So I'm sharing this with you for you to reflect as food for thought, because it's a very easy way. It's easy to understand, to have innovation day to day and can be used by all of you. And just to illustrate, the example of a company that everybody knows, it's not from logistics, but anyway, a company that everybody knows. In 2016, Mark Zuckerberg presented the future of Facebook in the annual meeting, the FB conference. He presented exactly the next 10 years of Facebook through the three horizons from McKinsey. Look how interesting. In 2016, he said Facebook, Horizon 1 is Facebook. It's what it is today. That's what we're today. And we spend 70% of our energy here. Horizon 2, 3 or 5 years from now, what we're going through now, look at what he said 4 years ago. It makes sense. In 5 years, what will Facebook be? Focused on Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, videos. Facebook is broadcasting through Facebook Watch. And so way back there in 2016, it was there in the three horizons. It was said, the evolution of Horizon 1. And what's Horizon 3 for 10 years from now? Look at that. Facebook is going to use virtual reality to connect people, augmented reality, the goggles. In other words, in Zuckerberg's vision, Facebook today will no longer exist. It'll be a huge virtual reality experience, and we'll be in the same environment, but virtually connected, but physically everybody in a different place in the world. So anyway, that's the example from Facebook, a company that everybody knows. It's easy to understand, that used the three horizons from McKinsey for their 10-year roadmap. So what have we said until now? The world now, we talked about digitalization, that is the mathematics of this century, and how this evolution is taking place. And this requires more and more different types of management through companies in order to put this in practice. And Mauricio, do you have some examples of what's happening in the world of logistics companies? So after I'm going to share with Expolog this material, I'm going to share a PDF, and you'll be able to have these images. But here, a relationship of the main companies, tech companies in logistics. Companies that are transforming supply chain and logistics. So here, this whole part, maritime, freight, below, sensors and controls, inventory controls. In the middle there, the second column, the entire marketplace to connect freight with truck drivers, warehousing. And so a general map, different examples of companies, digital companies that are using technology to remove bureaucracy, if you're from the port sector, they manage tariffs, etc. And also a Dutch company that uses a price comparison app, air freight and maritime freight. One of the greatest platforms that compares prices in the world. In road logistics, those that need to do deliveries. And so many others that we see around, and who do a lot of the work connecting truck drivers with those that need freight in road logistics. Nexium, a Swiss company. And those that offer visibility. And so anyway, I could say so many examples, but I'm going to share with you that screen with the logins of those companies, and you can, check out the different technologies. But the idea is, what's the lessons from all of this? More and more technology, more companies are being created offering incredible technologies that make the client experience flow better, quicker, offers better systems, etc. And in that previous process that we were talking about, this whole world requires new forms of management. It's a new form of management. So today, major players are getting close to startups, partnerships with them to make the experience of the client better. So, this is food for thought. The world is so dynamic, this change in behavior in people, and that it's necessary to have an eye, to know about these new technologies that are coming up. So finally, we talked about now the current world, digitalization. We said that this requires new forms of management in terms of companies. We saw some examples, but Mauricio, people, what do people have to do with this? Honestly, I believe that one of the greatest waves of innovation we're going to have in the next few years is the people innovation of human capital, if you will. For me, this is what's going to make a difference. People. We don't build a company. It's a team comprised of people. It's people. And so the Harvard Business Review did some research in the last 20 years, a profile. And so they took the presidents of the main companies in the 30s until now and understood what's their background, what's their what's their specialization. And in the 30s, where basically you produce something and would sell, where you have to sell, and just sell. And so it was very natural at the time to have many company presidents that came from sales because of this reality at the moment of sales. In a post-war world where consumers started to require more, and not just sales, they started to understand more, not only about selling, but how to place products in the market, financial engineering, adding value to brands, brand perception, branding. And so we started to see in the leadership of major companies in the 50s, finances, engineering, marketing. So with computing technology and how it was something expensive, very few companies could have a huge data center, etc. So guaranteeing a certain competitive advantage, it would guarantee a competitive advantage. It was natural for us to start working with IT directors, and they started becoming CEOs because technology took on a different role starting from the 80s. Now, we started to see in major leaderships and so the profile of people. In other words, more and more human resources directors becoming CEOs. In a world where more and more HR directors that studied people, specialized in people, human capital, in the world where more and more people with this profile start to take on a leadership role, this we need to think about within the corporate world. We have the former president from the Duncan Group who represents this movement so well. It's a GM CEO that's transforming GM into a company that doesn't only sell products, but services as well. I mean, so many companies in the world that today have former HR managers and now as CEOs. So in this Harvard Business Review article says, why HR or human resources are becoming great CEOs. And so Harvard Business Review compared the financial directors, HR directors, all of the directors, and compared their traits with the traits of CEOs. And it's exactly the trait of HR director, what's required from an HR director, are quite similar to the traits required from a CEO. And this shows how important it is to be concerned with people. That's the lesson, I think. If I'm a president, a CEO in a company, how important it is for me to understand about people, because it's people that promote change. Digital transformation is not about technology, it's about people. So it's not about technology, it's about people, okay? So we at Startseat, we go through many digital transformation processes, small, medium, and large-sized companies, because we receive so many organizations, we've been seeing this. And the reason that companies have success in their transformation process, and the reason those that don't have the expected results, it's the same reason. It's people. Companies that are able to have success in their transformation processes is because the people allowed to change. Let's try to do it differently. Strategy in a different way. People haven't changed. So we're talking about digital transformation integrating business and people. What's the importance in this current context to have new business methods? This is important for any company, any business person in any industry, not only logistics, not only agribusiness, but any industry. It's people, teams. That's what promotes change. So just a quick context, we received more than 5,000 Brazilians in our programs in Silicon Valley. And most of the people, when they arrive at the program in the beginning, they say, Mauricio, we're in Silicon Valley. We're going to see carless drivers, et cetera. Yeah, great. But when the program is finished, people say, so what are you taking back home with you that you learned here, Mauricio? It's not technology that does any of this. It's really not technology. What makes this place be the birthplace of innovation and technology, it's people. It's this profile of the people that are here, always concerned, always questioning, even sort of disobedient or maybe rebels. That's what makes this place be what it is. It's not technology. So, otherwise you would just copy and paste, but you can't just copy and paste people. That's why you can't copy Silicon Valley, because it's essentially comprised of people. So it was a great pleasure to be here with all of you. This was the day that received a title of citizenship in Vacaria, the moment. Also, Juscelino Kubitschek in the National Congress. This acknowledgement that makes me very, very happy. Involved with social projects and to sharing this with young people that live in social vulnerability. We did some projects already in the Northeast, in Sergipe, in São Paulo, and other states. There's a TED Talk that you can see online, and my 2 books available if you want to dive deeper into these concepts that I talked about here. So it was a great pleasure, and now I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I don't know if we have any questions or comments from the audience, be it our face-to-face audience or virtual audience. I can't hear anything. Mauricio, can you hear me? Yeah, now I can hear you. So a round of applause here physically and also virtually, Raquel and everybody. And, you're talking about people. I just wanted to say something that has everything to do with what you just said. Without people, we wouldn't be here broadcasting you to Brazil and the world. We have Rodrigo Bonet, the director from ITI, who's interpreting your talk to everybody into English. So I'd like to congratulate Rodrigo and his technical team, who's doing this virtually, and also Marcos Lima from F3 Produções, also broadcasting to all of Brazil. So without people, we wouldn't be able to have this technology. So Mauricio, your talk is very important at this moment, so that people may think that technology is everything, but it's impossible without people. So congratulations for what you mentioned, fantastic. And here, Mauricio, just for us to close, I have 3 business people that are going to ask you some questions. So I'd like to call now Marcelo Maranhão, who's VP Saticassi, from a trade union, and also he's part of a sectorial chamber of logistics. So Maranhão, what is your question for Mauricio? For Mauricio Venucci. Hello? Yeah. Congratulations, Mauricio. Excellent presentation. Very stimulating, very encouraging. We love technology, and so great presentation. But Mauricio, 20, 30 years ago, it was almost a consensus. People said that technology was going to replace people. But we've seen that no. Whatever is the business, etc., how do you see the training and capacitating people of people for the use of technology, the good use of technology, and the development of business? Yeah, excellent, Maranhão. Great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your question. Maranhão, you're correct. You're totally correct. Technology alone doesn't make things happen. It's even a paradox to say this. I mean, I don't know if you've been to San Francisco or Silicon Valley. We usually think that region, nobody talks to each other. It's just everybody sitting in computers. Everything is digital. But really, when I started living there, I started to see a region, the most innovative region in the world. And they have many face-to-face habits. Business happens a lot based on trust, relationships. In Rio Grande do Sul, Fio do Bigode, at the local bar, or watering a hole. So it's incredible. The most innovative regions in the world preserve simple habits regarding relationships, how you deal with people. It's very human. It's even funny to think about it. If you don't live in this region, you think it's strange. But anyway, once again, the importance of people in the process. And regarding training, I think that's one of the major bottlenecks we have, because we have, what companies do. People aren't even ready for the most simple, job positions we have. So not only Brazil, the capacity building of all of these workers. To help the population with capacity building, with training. China's doing this. Students are already learning artificial intelligence. If this is correct or not, I don't know. But many Chinese children are already studying this. These digital habits soon in their lives. And so one of our clients and the need that the bank has seen to train their workers and the inexistence in the market of solutions and capacity building programs. And they created an internal program to train their 100,000 workers in terms of these new technologies. And so many have gone through this process of digital consciousness. And so who's going to lead this capacity building, this new training? This is going to start with companies that will see the need to train their workers. They're going to look at the market and see that there aren't ready-made solutions. So let's do it ourselves. So Marião, that's the way I see it, okay? Thank you so much, Mauricio. Thank you, Marião. We have Carlos Alberto from TCE Terminais, a huge operator in the port of Pecém, also Mocoripe, a Brazilian company from Ceará, and one of the sponsors at Expolog. And we have a question for you, Mauricio, representing the companies from this mode of transportation in Brazilian logistics. Carlos Alberto, please, your question for Mauricio. Carlos Alberto, are you there? Yeah, his microphone apparently is not on. Good morning, Mauricio. Congratulations for your great talk. We work with ports for the last 30 years. Today we have port work that's a lot more intelligent, trying to use less equipment with greater safety and security, better layouts within ships. And so new types of cargo, such as blades for wind power generators. Anyway, this relationship between the ship's equipment and intelligence. And so we have some events in the region, and somebody drew a port worker just like RoboCop. And it's as if they could do their activity with greater safety and security, more strength and precision and accuracy. But this disruptive idea of our workers, you think that's at the medium term, long term? A port worker like RoboCop, perhaps using exoskeleton, something like that. What do you think? I mean, do you think that's, in store for the midterm or long term? Yeah, thank you for that question. Inspired in this drawing from this young person. What do I see in terms, this has a lot to do with the future of work. I mean, if we take Carlos Alberto, the Industrial Revolution, used a lot of human strength, heavy machinery, all of the work that was created, the entire industry that was created, created mechanisms to enhance human strength. the machinery that we have in civil construction, all of this machinery. Now, what we're going through now is an intense period because now innovation, the machinery now, is not just human strength or human force, but our capacity to think, to make decisions. Today, technology is getting into this part of the business world, where it's not only strength or force, but our capacity to think. Technology is doing this. And so why am I saying this? Because when we look at the evolution of the labor market, when we look at the trends, and so many people working with their strength and force. And so you said very well, the port sector requires people, but will continue requiring, perhaps not only for these things they do today, but other functions. There is a university in Silicon Valley called Audacity. They have grad courses for professions that don't exist yet. Engineers for autonomous cars. There is a profession called AI trainer, artificial intelligence trainer, for example. Like a personal trainer that makes you strong, but those that train technology so that AI can become stronger. It seems weird, but the most demanded profession is a programmer. And so, from my point of view, RoboCop, as it was mentioned in this drawing, people that work today are going to have to acquire new competencies. And so, doctors or physicians that are only going to diagnose disease diagnosis will be done, through different devices approved by the FDA. At home, you can diagnose 10, 20, 30 different types of disease. And so for accounting, for the law profession, all professions in their basic level will be replaced by technology soon. And in the port sector, those that work at the basic level, they're going to continue existing, but perhaps doing other things that will require other capacities and will require specific training. So I don't know if it's RoboCop, but professionals that work in this industry, and they're going to continue evolving in their capacity building and training because of the demands of the market. Yes, thank you so much, Mauricio. Thank you, Carlos Alberto. And so I would like to finish with a question from somebody from Nova Era Consultoria, Hermes Monteiro. So you have a question for Mauricio? Mauricio, good morning. Bom dia. Somewhat of a different question, okay? We're going through a very tense environment regarding freight costs. I just received, for example, some freight from China that 6 months ago was $1,500, $2,000. Now it's 7,000 US. Freight between China and Brazil. Uber was a total change in the last few years where you used equipment from third parties to do work that was in the hands of a few. In terms of international trade, we're talking about logistics here. Do you believe that technology could help us to solve today a lack of transportation equipment? We have a scarcity of containers or availability of containers. We depend on major ships. What do you think that logistics could be benefited with technological innovation for international logistics and trade between nations? Yeah, thank you, Hermes. That's a very pertinent question, really interesting. It's the so-called sharing economy. How I can use resources that we have today in order to transport people, equipment, or also using the physical structure that already exists. I don't know if you know, there's a company called Grabber from San Francisco, and what they do is they connect people who want to buy equipment where in their country it's very expensive, and travelers around the world, and they can put an iPhone in their luggage. So you bring from US somebody who wants to buy something, and a traveler has some space in their luggage. Company that's doing well. And so that's an example, of solutions that want to use the structure that already circulates throughout the world. Perhaps it's somewhat idle in the transportation of products. And so I really believe, yes, I think this is a trend that started with transportation of passengers, and then hospitality with Airbnb, for example, that today does the same thing. And more we see examples in other industries, other sectors. So Hermes, I see this really well. I think as resources in the world are becoming more scarce, I think companies and people start looking and of course, you're going to find some idle space. There are startups that already do this for containers. So this capacity of ultra optimizing something, I think that's the ultra optimization. So as we have the scarcity, yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, we basically started from scratch in March, and we changed our entire agenda of events and finishing the year with Expolog. So a collective hug of my entire team here to thank you for this opportunity. I'm a huge fan of yours. And so I would like to ask you to leave us with your take-home message, your final remarks, okay, for Expolog. Yeah, great. First of all, thank you so much, Expolog, for the invitation. Like I said in the beginning, it's an honor for me to be here, to be able to share my vision, what I living in Silicon Valley with all of you there, ladies and gentlemen, people that impact, companies that impact so many businesses in Brazil, so many families and households. So really, it's a huge privilege to be here. I'd like to thank the organizers. Incredible event. It's awesome event. And you know, my take-home message, my final message, I'm optimistic regarding Brazil. Brazil is a land of opportunity. You know that in Silicon Valley, Brazilians are very well seen because of our creative capacity. I really like, to value people's potentials. We have an important trait as a population. It's our very creative way of being. Perhaps we're the most creative population in the world. I usually say, if we want to compete with Americans, from 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, we're going to lose, because the American culture is this, from 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, they work like basically nobody else, because that's their culture. But if something happens along the way that's off script, Brazilians have this capacity of finding a solution, thinking on the fly. That's why in Silicon Valley, when I talk about Brazilians, doors open. And so Alvin Toffler, a great future thinker, somebody really who valued this idea of thinking about the future, Alvin Toffler, once said that we cannot fear the future. Apparently something happened. Yeah. I'm sorry. Anyway, so final message. I'm a fan of Alvin Toffler, a great he was actually a guru in business. And he said something that for me says everything. According to Alvin Toffler, the illiterates of this century are not those that don't know how to read and write, but those that cannot learn and unlearn and relearning. And I believe that in 2020, we need to have the skill of unlearning and then relearning. Unlearning some concepts that have brought us here, very important to build our society until now, but from now on, no longer serve us, and open a space in our minds and lives to learn new concepts. So learning, unlearning, relearning is really important. And I think that's the future, okay? So once again, thank you so much. Great privilege to be here. I wish you all an excellent event the next few days. And if you have any questions, if you want to interact with me, it'll be great to establish contacts with you guys, okay? A big kiss to all of you. Maurício Benvenuti, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your great participation in Expolog 2020. A round of applause with Maurício. We finished the opening ceremony. Thank you so much. And now let's begin a new moment geared towards the agribusiness seminar that's happening here at the Convention Center, also being broadcast through our virtual platform, through the Virtuali platform. So